Hello, in today's video I'm going to be talking about dynamics. Specifically, I'm going to talk about Newton's second law of motion as well as friction. So starting off with Newton's second law of motion, which states that a net force applied to an object changes an object's velocity, also known as produces an acceleration. And the equation for the Newton's second law of motion is sum of forces is equal to the net forces, which is equal to the mass or property of inertia times the acceleration, which is equal to the mass or property of inertia times the derivative of velocity, because a kinematic property is that velocity is equal to acceleration. Newton's second law of motion is also commonly written as acceleration is equal to force net force divided by the mass, or again property of inertia. So now I'm going to talk about friction a little bit. So friction is a resistive force to the relative motion between two surfaces in contact, and friction opposes motion. So there are two main types of friction. One of them is kinetic friction, which is a frictional force that opposes motion for an object which is sliding on another surface. The other kind of friction is static friction, which acts on an object that isn't sliding. So the ratio of the frictional force and the normal force provides the coefficient of friction, which is commonly symbolized by the sign like that. And it's a proportionality constant that is specific to the two materials that are in contact. Additionally, the magnitude of the frictional force depends upon two factors. One of them is the nature of the surfaces in contact, and the second one is the normal force acting on the object, or the net force. So now that we've talked a little bit about Newton's second law and friction, I'm going to go ahead and apply these to a specific problem from the AP exam. I'm going to be looking at problem number 13, which I'm first going to read out loud. A skier is traveling down a slope that is inclined 30 degrees above the horizontal. The coefficient of kinetic friction between the skier and the slope is 0.10. Which of the following best describes the acceleration of the skier? Okay, so first I'm going to draw a little diagram so I can picture this better. So we've got to our hill. I'm going to go ahead and erase this coefficient of friction symbol. So we've got our hill. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and draw the skier as a box just to make it more simple. We've got the force acting downwards as mg sine theta. We've got mg coming straight down. Then we've got our frictional force here of 0.1. Again, we've got to use our symbol here, okay, is equal to 0.1. And our, this vector here is equal to mg cosine theta. We know that the incline is 30 degrees here, and I think that's about all we're given. So the question again is asking which of the following best describes the acceleration of the skier. So we know that friction is equal to 0.1 times mg cosine theta, which is given in the as a equation of force. Of friction, sorry. Then we've got our resultant force. which is equal to mg sine theta minus 0.1 mg cosine theta. Essentially, we've got to subtract the friction that is making it, which is slowing down the skier from skiing down the hill. So we know that acceleration is equal to the mass times the resultant force, or the net force. So we can just go ahead and directly plug that into our equation, which is g sine theta minus 0.1 cosine theta. So here, we know that acceleration times mass is equal to that, right? Because this is our resultant force, since we take out the m. So acceleration, we cancel out the m's, is equal to g sine theta minus 0.1 cosine theta. Then we've got g, we can, according to the exam, we can approximate to 10. So we've got e is equal to 10. Sine, we know that it's an incline of 30 degrees minus 0.1 cosine of 30 degrees. And so we go ahead and solve for the acceleration. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my calculator. We've got 10 sine 30 minus 0.1 cosine 30, which is about 4 meters, 0.0 meters per second squared. And then when we look at the multiple choice exam, we see that that corresponds closest to answer B. Thank you.